I want to start off with some points about the loan charges. So, as you know, Chancellor, it's estimated about 50,000 people have been affected. Many of them are not highly paid, as has been suggested. They're supply teachers, nurses, even doctors. Some of them were duped by third parties into joining these schemes, known as disguised remuneration programs. And the FT reported recently that some 6 people have committed suicide. And there are many other examples of people's livelihoods and lives being devastated. One of the surveys the Loan Charge Action Group members did shows that the high levels of reported depression, anxiety, mental health impact, bankruptcy, loss of residential homes, divorce and relationship breakdown, loss of career, and suicidal thoughts. You will be aware that there was a debate in the Chamber, and also that the Loan Charge All-Party Group published a report which set out a number of critiques of how HMRC has been dealing with them. I'm not going to go into detail. I hope that
I think you're aware of the APPG report, aren't you, Chancellor?
Yes. Yes. So you'll be aware of the kind of key points that they raised, that the loan charge is retrospective, overrides taxpayer protections, undermines the rule of law. The settlements mean that they have to waive their legal rights, which is a real concern to members of Parliament. And of course, there are a number of other wider implications. They've listed a series of demands, which I hope that the Treasurer will be able to respond to. One of them includes a 24-hour counselling helpline for those who are facing loan charge. And I just wanted to just add one more thing in terms of background. When the Treasury came to give evidence, Mary Aston said in response to HMRC, that at the time our strategy meant that we weren't telling taxpayers enough about what we were doing on their case. So they would have had an open inquiry or assessment. We recognised that at the time our strategy meant we weren't communicating regularly enough to keep them in the picture. So I think overall the summary would be that there have been mistakes made on the side of HMRC in terms of communicating to taxpayers so they could deal with these issues quickly. Since the legislation came into force, obviously there have been a number of other repercussions. What we need to see is proper protection for those who found themselves unwittingly tricked into these schemes. That's obviously different from people who've willfully avoided tax, so let's put that to one side. But there are major concerns among our MPs about
right. Let me say first of all,
could you just give us an update on what the Treasury has done to
HMRC takes, and this has been extensively rehearsed in Parliament with several debates over the last few weeks, and the Financial Secretary to the Treasury has met with many colleagues to talk about this. First of all, HMRC does take very seriously its obligation to protect and to support those who are vulnerable as a result of difficulties in their tax affairs. And clearly, whatever the history, whether people have knowingly and egregiously entered into tax avoidance arrangements or whether they've found themselves unwittingly owing the revenue a large sum of money, finding out that one is going to have to pay a large sum of money to the revenue will be a very stressful and traumatizing experience. So regardless of the history, without any question around the moral position, HMRC's default approach is that people are potentially vulnerable when they are presented with a large tax demand, and HMRC does have effective procedures in place for supporting them. And the advice we always give consistently is that anybody who has a loan charge due or an obligation to HMRC should contact HMRC to discuss it. HMRC will not take action that evicts people from their principal residence. They will not usually, except in exceptional circumstances, take action that makes people bankrupt. So long as people are engaging with HMRC and are honestly and diligently trying to sort out their affairs,
Are you concerned, Chancellor, about the reports of 6 people having killed themselves, and that the HMRC itself has reported itself to the police?
Yes, so HMRC is aware of one case where sadly a taxpayer committed suicide and where there was an open loan charge investigation underway. That does not mean that there's a link between the two events, but in accordance with its own standard practice, HMRC reported itself to the police.
Okay, and
so
what
an investigation.
What analysis has the Treasury conducted on the impact of the loan charge? Has the Treasury done any specific pieces of work?
No, this is HMRC that carries out this work.
But
let me just go back.
The review. The Treasury has done a review, which was published.
Oh, sorry.
in March.
The review that was carried out under section whatever it was of the Act. Yes, of course, the Treasury carried out that review and has published its result. But let me just go back, if I may, to your opening remarks. First of all, 85% of the settlements of the total revenue that's been settled so far has been paid by employers, engagers, not by individuals. It is often said that many of these people were innocent bystanders, didn't know what they were doing, were in low-paid occupations. The overwhelming majority of the loan charge cases that we are aware of involve contractors, mostly but not exclusively in the IT sector. And the way these schemes work, it will have been necessary for individuals to have executed documents in order to draw down the loans which they took as remuneration.
Okay, well, I acknowledge in my the points I made that I was concerned about those who were not in categories of willfully avoiding tax, knowingly avoiding tax, and that there are major concerns of others who were pushed into schemes, such as nurses or people on agency workers who are in that position.
So these points are often made, and HMRC and my colleague, the Financial Secretary, has said many times we would welcome details of any cases that fit these oft-quoted descriptions, because HMRC does not recognise this categorisation. It is very difficult to envisage how somebody could genuinely have believed that they could draw their pay as a loan which never had to be repaid and not have understood that that was an action that avoided the tax that was payable.
Some people weren't given an option. That was the only way in which they could get a job and be paid. So let's just move on to the point about the intermediary.
Tax effects.
Let's just come on to the point about intermediaries. The people who are giving, the accountants, the financial advisors, lawyers or tax advisors, do you think that they should have been regulated more stringently, and is there a need to regulate them more stringently? HMRC's admitted that there are new forms of new approaches that some of these companies are using. Do you think that the government has a duty of care towards people to make sure that the intermediaries who are party to all this are properly regulated and that they are made to pay?
So HMRC is pursuing intermediaries and promoters of schemes, and we expect to recover significant revenue from them.